It's strength in finding resilience beyond your circumstances. What is up, you guys? I'm Zakia Monet, and welcome to the Finding Your Way podcast, where we share stories about hardships and share ways to not let our circumstances define us. Like you, we just here to find our way. What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of Finding Her Way podcast. I'm your host, Zakia. I go by Zakia Monet on all social media platforms, and welcome to another episode once again. In this video, in this episode, as we do in all episodes, we do a journal entry. This journal entry, we'll be doing some reflections, some self-reflection, life reflection, all of those good things. I just want you to do, I don't really have a specific prompt. I just want you to do some reflection on life. What is your outlook on the things that you've been through, things that you've overcome? Give yourself a hand clap for the things that you've overcame, whether small or big, because even the small ones are a big thing. So I just want you to do some self-reflection in this journal entry, because that's what this episode will be about, is some self-reflection. This week was really a huge week for me. I count it as one of my small wins. So last week I was telling my therapist about how stuck and stagnant I felt in life in general. I was telling her about the episodes I was having while I was working, whether I would be crying or just angry for no reason. I would feel all these emotions, and every time I clocked in or every time it was time for me to go to work, I would be like so emotional, or like any little thing that would go on at work, or anything that would set me back, or any little tiff I got into it with a supervisor or a lead, like I would just be so emotional, and I just couldn't figure out like what it was. I didn't know if it was like everything like hit me at once, because like a lot of things would be happening in that week or that one day. Like it didn't matter, like I was just like so emotional. And so I was trying to pinpoint where all these feelings was coming from and why I was feeling this way and all this other stuff. And I was talking to her about wanting to work on my personal development and all this other stuff. But we had to take a minute. We took a minute and sat back. And she said, "What's different?" Like, she said, "What's different?" No, she was like, "I want you to take a step back and I want you to look. Think about the last time you felt like you were stuck. Think about the last time you felt like you were stuck and stagnant." And so the last time I felt like I was stuck and stagnant was when I was at my mom's house, and I was going through this whole thing, and I was wanting to move and all this other stuff, and it was just a lot going on. And so she's like, think about all the things that you did in that period, and think about from that time to the time that God granted you the move that you was praying for and the move that you wanted. So I had to go back and look at all the things that I did in order to prepare, in order to, you know, be able to get to where I am today, like in my own space. And I was just thinking about all the stuff I did, and we were just having a conversation, and she was like, we was just trying to think about she already knew what it was that I did differently, and it was just her trying to get me to come to the realization of everything that I did, in order for God to move me in the direction that I need to go, in order for him to get me out of the situation that I didn't want to be stuck in anymore. And so in order for you to move forward, you have to let some things go. And I was holding on to a lot of things. Like I was going through a period where I wasn't talking to a couple of family members for over 4 years. And so I hadn't talked to them in over 4 years. And previously before that, it was on my heart to have a conversation with my son's dad's girlfriend at the time, just because like it was a lot of stuff that went on. It got so messy. I took accountability for my part in it. Like it just got so messy, and then it got to a point where I would start seeing her a lot more, and so it started to be on my mind a lot. So then I was talking to my therapist about it, and she was just saying, maybe I need to have a conversation, or maybe that's like God pushing you to have a conversation. So I had the conversation, and I felt so good about it afterwards. And so a couple of weeks went by, and this is September. Mind you, I had put in an application for this apartment. With this apartment management group, I had put in an application with them way in February, March. So I just thought they forgot about me. So keep that in mind. Make a mental note of that. I put an application with this property management group in March. I'm gonna say March. So and with this one, it was like a second chance. It was a second chance a second chance program or something like that with this property management. So I did that, but that was way in March. So all this time I'm thinking they forgot about me. So I did that in September. Around November, I started to have these two specific family members in my head, like, a lot. I would think about them a lot. I don't remember if they were in my dreams a lot, but I know they would be in my mind a lot. And so before, it's so crazy, before I got used to reaching out to my therapist, before I reached out to other people, just to see, like, just to I guess, like, encourage me and, like, help me, like, find out the right words to say and all this other stuff. So I started reaching out. Before I reached out to the people, I would tell my therapist about it whenever our sessions would come up. And so I was telling my therapist, like, you know, like, these two, like, they've been in my mind heavily. Mind you, I had already told her about the tips that we had before that. She already knew the whole rundown of what was going on. So, and while we weren't speaking. So I told her about it, and she was like, gotta have that conversation. It's time to let go. Maybe this is like you wanting to let go or whatever. And so when I did that, I wrote down in my notes what I wanted to say to each person, and then I sent it to my therapist, because I think I did it that same day. I wrote down what I wanted to send, and I sent it to my therapist for her to read it or whatever, to see if I was, like, to give me, like, okay, like, this is the right thing to say, so I won't make sure that I wasn't overdoing it. Because, like, for me, with me doing this, it wasn't about, like, reconnecting. It was more so about me letting them know that I forgive them. I want to move forward and let go, but I don't want to, you know, like, I'm not in the, like, it doesn't have to be how it was. Like, I'm cool with it not being how it was. So that was just, like, what I wanted to say in that message. And she was just sending me the okay, like, you know, like, that's okay, you know, that was okay to send it. So I sent those messages, y'all, I kid y'all not, I want to say maybe a week later, I get a call telling me to come into the office of the property management group to sign papers, put a deposit down, and do all this other stuff. No, I think it was to view the apartment. They had to view the apartment. I think it was to view the apartment and put a deposit down. And so I did that. And now we're here. And so I say all that to say, she brought all of this up to me, and we had this conversation. She was like, go back to that. So I went back to that, what I just told y'all, and it was just like, it's some stuff that I need to let go. So in this particular time, my dad has been on my mind for these past few weeks. And then my friend, a couple months back, she was saying maybe you need to have a conversation with his wife. And I don't know if I told y'all, but it's been like an ongoing thing with me and his wife that's caused a rift between me and my dad. And so I think, like, I don't even know, like, that the rift started when I started to feel like, you know, he was pushing us out for something new. And so for as long as I can remember, like, whether he was, like, it didn't matter where my dad was. We didn't have, like, whether we didn't have no furniture, whether he was getting knocked on the door for the rent we paid, whether he was like my dad was going through a lot. He got his own testimony. He had a lot that he was going through, like gambling, drinking heavily. He had a lot. He had a lot going on. So no matter what he was going through, like, that was still my daddy. Like, it was always us three, me and my siblings at the time. And so, like, no matter, like, for us to go from that to, you know, having someone come in, mind you, I think I'm probably 10 at this time. I think I'm 10 or 11. I'm probably 11 at this time. So having to come from that to, like, not having your daddy at all from 11 to now, like, that's a huge difference. So he was on my mind heavily. He was really on my mind heavily. So like I said, my friend had told me a while back to maybe you should have a conversation with his wife, and I looked at the phone like, no. Like, I would never have a conversation with that woman, because in my mind it's like, how can you allow, like, for one, I was a kid, and I was a kid, and for you to not like me is insane. For you to not like me because, like, I don't know what the reason was, but it was just always this feeling of her not liking me, or me feeling like it was something there. And so for a long, and then you have other people coming in telling you what she's saying about you, or, you know, talking about you. Even when I was at work, when I was working at the hospital, it was always a thing of, like, people saying she was talking about me and all this other stuff. So that caused even more of a rift. And so to go, like, that was just the whole thing for all of these years. And then as the years went on, he started to have kids with this one, with his wife. And then it really started to feel real, like I really don't have my dad. So when I started to go through real life shit, like going through the domestic violence and going through all that stuff I went through with his dad, and then going through other stuff, the health scares and all this other stuff, to not have my dad there, that was like a big thing for me. And like, that really hurt me to not have my dad there. And like I said, for a long time, like, when I was younger, I was really a daddy's girl. So to go from that to not having him all these years, like, that was, like I said, it was a big thing. So he was on my mind heavily. My friend was telling me this, but that other while ago, I was telling her, like, I was thinking, like, that'll never happen. Like, are you kidding me? That'll never happen. And so he was on my mind, and then talking to her about telling her, like, us having this conversation about, you know, about the last time I felt like I was in this stuck place, and then telling her that my dad was in my mind. It was like the confirmation that it was time to have the conversation with my dad and his wife. And so this week, this was last week when I decided it was okay, like, it was time to have a conversation with my dad and his wife. And so my therapy session was Thursday. I reached out to my dad Saturday. It took me a long time, because, like, it took me a long time to even reach out. Well, I didn't say a long time, but it took me like a day to reach out, because I just, like, didn't know, like, I'm not gonna say I wasn't sure, because I know, like, God does not like it when you, like, God does not like it when you're holding this grudge, or this like, when you have this heart of unforgiveness. And so me understanding it and me knowing that, it was still hard for me to want to make that step and move forward, because I didn't know what that would look like. So it took me a day to understand, to come to the realization that it was time to have the conversation, but also keeping in mind, like I had the conversation with my therapist about with my other family members, like, I don't, like, it doesn't have to, you know, be kumbaya. It doesn't have to, like, we don't have to kick it. we don't have to do that. But I do want to be in a point where we can move forward. And so in doing that, I also have to I also feel like I have to have this conversation with my mom, because for a long time it was her doing stuff, like, by herself. But my mom has this thing to where, I don't know, if she feel like you being, like, if she feel like you switching up on her, then it's a whole thing. I had to put that in my mind, that I need to have a conversation with my mom about this before I even reached out to them. No, before I had the conversation with them, so I could give her a heads up, just in case if I seen them out and I spoke, then she wasn't looking at me sideways. So that was a thing too. So I'll tell you about that too. So I reached out Saturday to have a conversation. So we decided, the original date was Monday to have a sit down and do the conversation, but we ended up pushing it back to Tuesday, which was yesterday. And so Tuesday we had the conversation. Prior to that, my nerves was just so all over the place, and it wasn't the nervousness of the conversation. I think it was the nervousness coming from, like, me making sure I get out everything I needed to get out, so they can understand where I'm coming from, and so that I can be okay with it or whatever. And coming into terms with, in my mind, like, not caring about, like, if they're gonna take accountability for their part or not. Just come into realization, like, I gotta be worried about me and how I respond and how I react to the situation, and how, you know, like, to make sure, like, nothing that they say triggers me, nothing is going to send me back and reverse me back to before, and to make sure I'm on a straight and narrow, you know, and doing what I need to do for myself, for my healing. And so that's just ultimately that's what I did. I put it out there. I put it all out there on the table. I feel really good about the conversation. Like before, after I left, I was like kind of uneasy because I didn't know if I really said everything I needed to say. But I felt like ultimately I gave a pretty good background of everything I needed to say. The key points, rather, I gave the good key points without having to dig up, every little thing that happened and all this other stuff. Basically, I told her how I felt, and I told him how I felt. In my mind before this, how they took it was how they took it. But I just know I didn't want to go back and forth with nobody. I didn't want to do all of that. I didn't want it to be a big thing to set us back, not to set us back, but to set me back. I just didn't want that. But ultimately, the conversation went good. He apologized, for not being in our lives, and missing out, and all this other, like he really took responsibility for his part. I'm not sure how it's gonna go moving forward. Like I said, I'm not like it don't have to be I'm cool with it not being like we're best friends. I'm cool with it not being that. But I just wanted to, get this off my chest, and I just wanted to let it go. And I wanted them to be aware and know that I'm letting it go and I'm not holding on to anything, and that I want to move forward. And I do want to spend time with my siblings because I am the oldest of 7 kids. And so I do want to spend more time with my siblings that he has with her. I do want to get to know them more and, just do all these things because my son is the same age as my brother, which is crazy. But my son is the same age as my brothers. And my nephews is the same age as my brothers, his uncles. So that's like, I'm really big on keeping that together. Like, even if I'm not able to form a relationship with their mom, or me and my dad, or me and my dad get back to how he was, I'm cool with starting my family with them. Starting my village with them, including them into my family. Like, so when I do get my big house, they're able to come over and spend nights, and we're able to do all these other things as a family. Like, I'm able to create my own family vibe with them. And so ultimately that is what I want to do. And so like, I really feel today I woke up feeling really good about it. So it just gave me confirmation that I did the right thing and that, I'm able to move forward. So I don't know, like, y'all, I feel really good about it. I know it's more conversations that I need to have with other people, but I'm not too pressed on doing that because I feel like I've written a list of people that I need to have conversations with. But that's all in its own time. When God tells me this is the right time, then that's when I'll do it. I'm in the space of being obedient, doing what he tells me to. Although I'm struggling with hearing what he's saying, I don't know if he's like, sometimes I don't know if he's putting it right in my face or if it's just like I'm just being a blind and not getting what he's trying to tell me. So I do struggle with hearing him and doing this other stuff. But I feel like when he's telling me, I feel like when I have something in my mind over and over again and I'm not able to get out of my mind, I feel like it's him telling me something. I'm not sure. I'm still learning the signs and his voice and all this other stuff. But yeah, we're still on that. But I am proud of myself. That is a part of me. This is me celebrating my win. This was a win for me. It probably could have been some more things said, but like I said, I really didn't want to get too deep into everything because I didn't want to like open up old wounds and somebody just like people just get defensive, and I didn't want it to be that whole thing. I just wanted to tell how I felt. And you of course you want people to receive what you're saying. Like, I did appreciate them, not interrupting me and let me speak and let me get what I had to say off my mind and off my heart. I did appreciate that so much. I appreciate that so much because like sometimes parents like have this thing where they want to be so defensive, they want to be so right that they're not able to hear their child's feelings or what their child has to say. And I feel like that is such a toxic trait to have. And so I was kind of like on the edge about them hearing me, but I'm glad that they were able to hear me and understand where I'm coming from, and were able to apologize about what they've done. Like I said, I've taken accountability, because like I told her, I didn't know like if it was me being if it was a jealous thing, like me seeing him coming, like a new set of people coming in and taking my place and taking my space with my dad, and taking away from me and my siblings all we knew, which was my dad. And like I didn't, like I said, I told her, like I didn't know if it was that or if it was just because like I felt like you didn't like me. And so we had this whole conversation. Not too concerned about if anybody is lying about anything, or if anybody is really genuinely willing to move forward. I'm not concerned about that. I'm just happy that I did my part. I'm happy that I'm able to, you know, move forward. Ultimately, I just want my dad happy, and I want him to be in his grandkids' life. Because they're getting older, and now that my brother is incarcerated for this period of time, I do want him to, you know, step in for his kids. Like that was another thing that I really wanted. I want him to step in for his kids, and you know, be there for his kids. They're going through a tough spell. So ultimately, you know, a win is a win. A win is a win. And so that's just like a little bit of me reflecting on my week and my therapy session. I'm just proud of myself for doing that. I feel like it's such a good thing to journey and document everything, so you can look back on, like, whenever you get into a space of feeling stuck and stagnant and not knowing what to do, and, you know, not knowing where to turn or where to go. I feel like it's such a good tool to document everything. So just so you can look back on, you know, like, what did you do in that period when you start to feel that, you know, and like just document everything. And so I started documenting last week, because when she told me that, I just really forgot like what I did until I started really thinking like I was letting stuff go. Like I was genuinely letting stuff go, because like after the situation with my family members, like we had a conversation. It's been fine. Like I don't feel a need for us to reconnect. Like I don't feel a need for us, you know, go to lunch next week, or, you know, do all this other stuff weekly, or like for it to be how it was, or whatever it was. I don't feel a need for it to get to that, but I am like okay with where we at. Like I still love them, you know, like I'll pick up the phone if they call. That's just where I'm at, and I'm okay with that. And I just need to get back to that. So I'm okay with how the conversation went. Like I'm okay with us like not being, you know, I'm just okay with it. Like it happened. I just want to move on. I just want to, you know, go into my next phase of life and go into it like knowing like I'm doing the right things. So yeah, I'm just proud of myself. I'm just so proud of me. And I just like, my advice would be for you guys to do the same thing. Like if you're feeling stuck, stagnant, I feel like you need to, like whatever you're holding on to, it's time to let it go. You're not able to move forward or get to the next stage of life because you're holding on to old things, and you're not trying to heal. You're still trying to be in that space of what they did this to me, all that stuff, and that's fine. That's fine to a certain point. It's fine to a certain point, because no, like, you can't let people play with you, but you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go, because what good is it doing for you? It's not doing you no good, and it's not like it's gonna mess up their life. I feel like the turning point is you letting it go. To have a conversation, to not have a conversation, is up to you and God, or up to you and whoever you believe in, or, you know, whatever you feel like is the right thing for you to do that. You don't have to reach out. You can write a letter and burn it. You can do something like that. That's even a good thing. If you don't feel like you're able to have a conversation with somebody who is mentally ready, or who is able to accept what you have to say. Also, what I was told, like what my therapist told me to do, was pray for their heart, and pray their heart that pray that their heart is not of stone. What was the prayer? I'm gonna put it in this clip. But she told me to do, and I prayed that prayer, and that I feel like it helped. So pray over that person too. Pray that they're able to accept what you have to say. Pray that even if they're not able to accept what you have to say, just pray over the whole thing in general. So yeah, that would be my advice for you, because like, we got stuff to do. We can't go to the next space if you're not able to let it go. So we gotta start letting stuff go. What they did was fucked up. It was messed up on a lot of levels, but don't let that hinder your life and hinder you in doing something great and being something great, because you're missing out on your blessing. You're missing out. You could be like, sometimes you could be in the way of somebody else's blessing. Maybe you are a blessing to somebody else and you're not able to be a blessing to them because you're stopping your own blessing by holding on to something that you need to let go of. So I encourage you to, just think about it. Pray over it. Write it, journal it down, and write a list of people who you feel like you need to have a conversation with, or you feel like you had a riff with that deserves a conversation, or has done anything to you in any way, whether it's a parent, a friend, ex-boyfriend, baby daddy, baby mama, whatever. Write those names down and have those conversations, whether it's on paper or face-to-face. I encourage that wholeheartedly, because originally I was gonna just do over the phone, but I felt like it was so effective. And I feel like different people call for different things. Like with the family members, I just sent them a message on Messenger. With my dad and his wife, it was a face-to-face conversation. So you depict what you want to do or what you feel is best for you and the person. So that'll be that. If you feel like they'll trigger you by being face-to-face, by their reaction, I would just send a message, a text message or something like that. I would just send them that, or even writing a letter and doing it that way. Yeah, that's what I would just say to you. But I'm just like, whatever you do, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for even taking the step to think about it. I'm just so proud of you. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of us, because we're taking the steps to move forward and letting this shit go so we can get to where we need to get to. Once again, I thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. I love y'all so much for tuning in. Like, comment, share with a friend, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed and took at least one thing, if any, from this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share us with a friend you know. Follow us on Instagram at findingherwaypod, and send us letters or questions to askfhw@gmail.com. We hope to hear from you in the next episode.